Are your
Okay, I
screen?
call the school committee meeting of September 22nd, 2020 to order. As we do every meeting, we'll begin by reading the mission statement. The Norfolk Public Schools offers a safe, joyful, and challenging learning environment that meets the needs of our diverse students. Through school, family, and community partnerships, we provide an education that inspires lifelong learners and cultivates caring and productive citizens of our ever-changing world. Roll call, please.
Sarah Ward.
Shannon Meneses.
Jennifer Wynn.
Thomas Doyle.
All right. I'm here as well. So our first agenda item this evening is public comment. Not sure if anyone is here for public comment specifically for something that's not on the agenda. I guess try to raise your hand. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to see that.
They wave like this. That's what we say.
Or wave, or just yell, since we're going kind of off book here. It appears we have no public comment.
Is my mic working now?
Is that yelling for public comment? No. All right, then moving on, our next agenda item is correspondence, of which there is none. We have, following that, the school committee chair report, which thankfully has no action items either. So we'll move on to Ingrid for the superintendent's report.
Great. So thank you, everybody, for joining tonight. We added an extra meeting tonight really just for the purpose of approving, per policy, the school committee is required to approve annually the family handbook, as well as the district code of conduct. So the first thing that you have is the family handbook. If you're not speaking, if you can mute your mic, because I think we're getting a little background noise. I think Sarah and Shannon think. So the family handbook is, there are very few changes from last year. Every year we update the building maps as well as the staff list and all the contact information and phone numbers. There were some policies that were revised over the course of the year that the school committee voted on. Those were also updated in the main handbook. What we decided to do for efficiency purposes is we added a COVID addendum to the handbook that outlines all the policies and procedures that we are required to change as a result of COVID. Because if the public health situation changes, then we will revert to the published policies in the family handbook. So in the COVID addendum, there is really no new information. What we've taken is the documented plans that we have discussed at school committee for COVID safety protocols, and those are outlined in the family handbook addendum. So changes to arrival and dismissal procedures for both HOD and FK are included in the handbook addendum. Additionally, information about face coverings and mask wearings is in the family handbook addendum. Changes to recess protocols, lunch protocols, and all of those other regular operating procedures are outlined in the addendum to the handbook. There is nothing really that you haven't seen before in that, because all of those protocols and procedures, hand washing procedures, are also in the reopening plan the school committee reviewed and voted on earlier in the summer. So I'm happy to answer any questions people have, but we need a formal vote to approve the family handbook with the COVID addendum. Sarah?
I just had some questions, not about the information, just sort of about formatting. Is there going to be a table of contents added just for ease of looking up something quickly in the addendum?
I can certainly do that. We didn't have one in the handbook addendum, but we can certainly add one.
Okay, and then just the information about carpool that's after the HOD information at the end by afternoon dismissal. Mm-hmm. Should that sort of be in the beginning, maybe?
About the carpool. I can take a look at it. Take a look at it.
And then is there any way to sort of HOD and Freeman Kennedy sort of mix on the same page? Could that be separated a little more?
I can look at that as well. Yep.
And then, not to be a pain.
No, that's okay.
Sorry. I really liked the line about parents not being on their cell phones during drop-off. Yeah. I didn't see that in the HOD section, just in the Freeman Kennedy.
Okay.
So that would be a good thing to add. And then the last thing, I promise. The map of the Freeman Kennedy drop-off was awesome. But I don't know if you can see this. It says Boardman up here. Mm-hmm. but then it doesn't say Rockwood over here. I just don't know if that would be helpful for people.
I can see if the tech team can add that to the image.
Okay.
Great.
That's all I had. Sorry.
Great.
I have one quick question, one quick thought, and it may have been done intentionally. Most of the dates in here were 2020 to 2021, but on the school admin, it was 2019 to 2020.
In the family handbook?
Yeah.
Okay. Pam, can you make that edit?
I just didn't know if that was intentional or that was all.
Great.
Ingrid, I have a few questions. My first question is the map of the classrooms. I noticed that they had the names of the classroom teachers on there. And I know this gets public. Is this public? This is public on the website, correct?
It is.
I guess I'm a little, is there a safety concern? It just makes me a little like, oh, anybody could go on and see where Mr. Kavanaugh's room is, or should it be more like we just say R21 and then, I don't know, send something home to the families? Why do we have teachers' names on there?
On the building map?
Yeah, on the classroom, where the classrooms are.
To help parents if they're coming in for a conference or an appointment to be able to find the classroom. The buildings are all secure and they're all locked down, so nobody has access during school hours. I can certainly share that concern, but it's always been published, and we've never had concerns about people knowing the location because they don't have access to the building. Only people that are admitted through the main office that might be looking for a specific location. If they have a team meeting or a meeting with a special education teacher, it helps them navigate the building.
Okay, just something. I guess I'm more of a worrywart. And I was curious if you could just explain. In the past I've talked about recess, and on page 77 under I believe it's maybe health and wellness. It said for disciplinary actions, recess shall not. I'm very poorly paraphrasing right now. In accordance with district discipline actions. It's discouraged. That was the word they used. Yeah. And I just want to make a clarification. Can you just kind of clarify a little bit, elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yep. So by state statute, we have a health and wellness committee who has to annually review our health wellness policy. One of the things that they included in their policy per mass guidance is that recess should not be used as a form of punishment, so it's strongly discouraged. And that is accurate. It doesn't say that it is never permissible, because there's certain times where that is an appropriate consequence. If students are having a difficult time navigating recess or are struggling to interact with their peers during recess, they may have a brief cool down period. So it doesn't say that it is prohibited, because there are select times where that might be an appropriate consequence. And the details about when that would be considered are outlined in our school code of conduct, which defines specific behaviors and specific appropriate consequences.
Okay.
But it is not used as a punishment for failure to return homework or for behavior in the classroom. It is used specifically for a timeout that children may need because they're having difficulty navigating the recess period, or as per outlined in the school code of conduct.
I just wanted to clarify that. And then the other question that I've been asked in the past is in regards to the discipline policy and in-school suspension, and why wouldn't parents be involved in that process at an early stage?
Sure. So the code of conduct, again, as you had called and we spoke about earlier, there are times in school where we have a responsibility to protect the safety and the order of all students. So if there's a disciplinary issue that comes up during the school day, then the principals have a responsibility to investigate that and to take appropriate disciplinary measures. The state law, students have a right to education. So if a disciplinary action is going to prohibit them from accessing that right, which would be an out-of-school suspension where they're not able to access their educational program, then they have certain due process rights under the law. So you would have to have a hearing, a discipline hearing, before issuing an out-of-school suspension. That is not the case in an in-school suspension. An in-school suspension is an appropriate disciplinary response to certain behaviors as outlined in the Code of Conduct. But because a child's not missing their educational experience, they're just changing the setting for a portion of their day to a smaller group or to an individually supervised academic day, that doesn't require a hearing prior to issuing an in-school suspension. We always work very closely with our parents. So if a student has a disciplinary issue, we always contact the parents, but there isn't a formal hearing procedure to issue an in-school suspension.
All right, thank you. That's what I was just clarifying. It's not necessary, and our policy really goes towards the state statute on all of this, especially the bullying. Whenever there's a bullying, is that my understanding? Whenever there's a bullying incident, I mean, there's very strict statute as to what the protocol is.
Yeah, student bullying and student discipline are highly regulated by the state, and our policies are almost word for word from the state statute.
Right. Thank you. I wanted to bring it up at
Sure.
Policy time. So thank you.
Any other questions about the family handbook, with the exception of the handful of formatting changes that we'll make with per Sarah's recommendation?
I do have a little question. I don't know if we can answer it now, but snow cancellations, will we have that this year?
So at this time, we're waiting for a final decision from DESE, but at this time, they're implying, or they're believing that we will be able to move forward with transitioning to remote learning days if there's a snow emergency. DESE is working with the state, and they haven't issued a final decision, but that's what we expect to hear within the next week or so.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
In relation to that, if you lose power, obviously you can't remote learn. Would that count as a snow day for your child, or would that be an absence?
It would depend, Sarah, on the context. If the entire town of Norfolk was out of power and we couldn't deliver instruction, that would be a day that we would have to make up. If it's only a handful of houses or an individual situation, then that child would be absent.
Okay.
All right, so then we would need a motion to vote to approve the family handbook with the formatting changes outlined tonight.
I'll make a motion to approve the family handbook with the formatting, editing changes as outlined tonight.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next is the Code of Conduct. So again, per policy, the school committee annually approves the Code of Conduct. There were very minor changes made from last year to the Code of Conduct. What you'll see is we added a couple of definitions of terms that are things that we were asked about over the course of the year. So one was about restorative strategies and what that means. So we added a definition, and we made one minor change for clarification purposes. There is some overlap where you see things like verbal teasing. There's one consequence for that, but if it's a consistent pattern of teasing, then that could qualify as bullying. So under that, we just added that if the criteria meets the bullying criteria, that would take precedence for disciplinary action, because we're required by law to follow that process. So we added some clarifying language, but there really aren't any other changes to the Code of Conduct. Happy to answer any questions people might have for that. Then we just need a motion to vote to approve the Code of Conduct.
I move to approve the Code of Conduct.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. All right, and then we were asked by the Norfolk CPAC, our Special Education Parent Advisory Council, if they would be able to be added to the agenda tonight, because they would like to seek approval from the school committee to move forward with their trunk or treat fundraiser. So there's information in your packets about that, but I'll turn it over to Karen if you want to speak to that, and then we can move forward with the vote.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for fitting us in tonight. I know this wasn't really a typically scheduled meeting for all of the random stuff, but we did recently, and I just want to point out, I also have my fellow co-members, Joanne Gilbody and Kayla Costa, on the call as well. So we wanted to, most especially say thank you for listening tonight. And we do, I don't know how many years we've been doing this off the top of my head, but it's an annual tradition now at H Holiday for our trunk or treat that we do for the students over there. And we really assumed that we wouldn't be able to kind of do a typical one this year. So we thought we would maybe work with the Board of Health to see how we could go about doing a revised trunk or treat. So we did put together a presentation, not a presentation, but a proposal, and you have it in your packets. We did work with the Board of Health. We did work with the Norfolk Police Department. We do have approval on this project from all of those people with their buy-in and suggestions. We did incorporate their suggestions as well. Did run it by Ingrid as well. So we wanted to kind of present it to you. I know we do have to get approval since it is a fundraiser on school grounds. But basically, our version of it is it's going to be a trunk or treat, almost drive-through parade. So we're going to have the trunks set up. They won't be giving out individual candy. We're going to make little goodie bags and hand those out at the beginning as people come in. We will have to stop everyone and and check them in. They'll have to buy tickets, and we're going to assign people time slots so we won't have everyone coming at once. And when they check in at the beginning, we'll hand them the goodie bags that will have been pre-made, pre-arranged. They will have sat in their own little quarantine for I think 24 to 48 hours. We will have all of our volunteers will be wearing masks. The people handing out the goodie bags at the beginning will be wearing the appropriate gloves and whatnot. And then we would basically set up our trunks around the back perimeter of H Olive Day and have our parade of cars. And we're calling it a parade because we're hoping we're going to encourage attendees to decorate their cars as well, so that it adds a little bit more of a fun element for them on the attendee side as well. And then they'll just drive through and see the trunks and then come out. So we'll have to encourage drivers to come from one direction, pull into the parking lot. They'll go around to the right, go all the way around and come out, do the loop around. And then the police department has requested that we ask everyone to take a right out of the parking lot, no lefts allowed, so that traffic continues to move fluidly through the situation there. So that is our plan. We do have, it is a work in progress. So we're open to any and all suggestions and advice on how to, make it work and make it more fun and make it safe for everyone. But yeah, we were hoping to get your approval tonight because we obviously don't want to start advertising and soliciting volunteers and whatnot without your approval first. So we appreciate you fitting us in tonight so that we have the opportunity to do that.
Karen, can I just ask you, you did speak with Chief Stone about this. Did they feel you needed police detail that night on Main Street?
He did not think so.
Okay.
He did not think so, because that was a big question of ours as well. He felt that as long as we have timed tickets, where people have chunks of time that they're coming, and that we request that everybody, we kind of put a cone up or somehow guide the traffic to take the right coming out of HOD, that he didn't think it was needed.
Great. And also, just for the committee's knowledge, they did present and receive the approval of the Board of Health too. So they've gone over all the safety protocols and health protocols. Right. Any questions from the committee?
Ladies, I just love CPAC. I love this event. I'm so excited to decorate finally my trunk this year. I have a suggestion and a question. One thing that we do at my school, this might save a little bit of time when people are checking in. You might want to check into a QR code. So for example, when I go into work, we have to fill out that pre-COVID screening, and you have to do it usually within 24 hours, or I do it that morning before I leave for work. So this way I don't have to do it right there when I'm walking into school. So it might be something to look into, that people can fill out that form an hour before the event, and then you could just check like, oh, it's checked off.
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
Thank you. That's a good idea.
And I don't think it's that hard to do.
Nope.
And then my second question is only because I just went to DynaQuest and I had a little bit of difficulty traveling through all the cones as it was getting dark. is maybe you would consider, as people are driving through, would you consider maybe having the event a little bit earlier in the day so it's light out? My concern is that if people are driving by and you're like, ooh, look at the farm animal, and you kind of drift off and hit my new car, like, so I'm just wondering if there could be some cones and some like neon glow in the dark balloons kind of showing people which lane to stay in. That's all I'm just asking.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, again, we were kind of in the initial phase here
Absolutely.
of getting approvals, but you're absolutely valid.
Absolutely.
And that's a valid concern because we will have, both pedestrians and a parade of sorts.
Right.
So I think we will absolutely figure out the safest, best mode of transportation there and keeping everybody safe and not causing any ruckus in the back there in the dark. So I know in the past, the struggle is real for our trunkers, and Jen, you'll appreciate this since I heard a rumor you might want to do a trunk. We can't get access, obviously school's in session.
Right.
So the struggle is real as far as what time we can start and how much time it allots to the trunkers to set their scene up. So last year we started at 5 o'clock and we all kind of were very pressed to get started. So that's why we kind of have always done 5:30, but we all felt the pain. And last year we tried and we started a little bit earlier, and it really, we weren't ready for the 5 o'clock, what's the word? Floodgates opening.
Crowd opening.
So it's valid. We do. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, what night of the week are you planning on?
Friday night.
So, sorry, this is Joanne. Ingrid, you might be going where I'm going, but maybe we consider Wednesday.
That's what I was
just no one's at school. We can talk about it, but it might be an option. If it might be a welcomed excitement for the Wednesday of that week when everybody's home, and also we could potentially do it earlier if the parking lot is not full.
Right, you definitely could start earlier on a Wednesday. We could work around it with you.
Yeah, so that's.
I do think sometimes the dark kind of makes it a little fun because lots of people typically light up their trunks and it kind of gets a little bit fun. But let us talk about it. We'll consider the options, and then we can check in with you guys to see your thoughts if we kind of do a pro con list for the different days. It's kind of nice though that it's a little bit before Halloween, but Halloween is on a Saturday, so we have that week to play with a little bit.
We can also work with our facilities staff to see if there's anything we can do in terms of the lighting in the back. We might be able to work with you around that. So if the committee is comfortable moving it forward, then I can work with the CPAC around the concerns that Jen raised around the cones and the traffic. Any other questions from the committee?
Thank you. You guys are wonderful. Can't wait.
Thank you.
Majority, you want to take a motion for a vote?
Oh yeah, sure. We need a motion for a vote. Who would like to move? Thomas, would you like to make a motion?
You can make it in the chat.
This is exciting. Yes, I'd like to make a motion to accept the CPAC fundraising.
Seconded.
All right. Any further discussion? Mrs. Nguyen, we good?
No.
I
think Sarah's got me. Sarah's on my tail.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for all your work planning this. I know the kids always love it, so we're looking forward to it.
We're happy to make it work this year. So thank you again.
Awesome. Moving on our agenda, you'll all be happy to know that it doesn't look like we have any committee reports that I need to preside over. We just have to confirm that our next meeting is on October 13th. I believe we'll be meeting in person as we have been at Town Hall at that point. So that still works for everybody. Great. And then I will thankfully entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Anyway, I need a motion.
Oh,
I'll make a motion.
There you go, Dominic. Any further discussion on that one?
Did we approve minutes?
No, but
I
I
don't
think
do-
we can do that at October because this was.
We'll do it
Okay,
next meeting.
okay.
I didn't see it on our agenda. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do them both in October.
Okay, fantastic. So all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All right.
Thank
Fantastic.
you.
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Bye.